Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fit for Purpose podcast, where we believe that exploring health and fitness can help you to lead a life of purpose.
My name is Brandon. This is my co-host Jacob. On today's episode, we dive into all things stress.
Yeah, we also talk about how that relates to our ability to make progress in the gym with our health and our fitness. So follow us, go ahead and like and subscribe on YouTube, and give us a follow on Spotify.
Let's go. I think a lot of stress comes from life just happening to you versus you actually being prepared and ready for it.
Stress is like an overarching term, right? That's like 5 letters, stress, that encompasses so much in our lives. I cannot crush myself in the gym 5 days a week if my stress levels are too high.
Yeah.
I need to implement a more therapeutic dose of exercise.
These are all ways that we can combat the stressors of life.
I don't know like how closely you follow, different like podcasters or like YouTubers in the fitness space.
Mm-hmm.
There's some big ones. And then I feel like you've got kind of like 2 camps. Like you've got the like the hardcore like science-based, like everything needs to be backed by a study.
Yes.
You got that camp, and then you got the like other camp that's like all like vibe and feels and anecdote. Like you have these 2 camps, right? So like I don't know if you know Paul Saladino. He's gotten pretty big, right? He was like the carnivore guy. Now he's all animal based, but he's a certified MD, like, so he knows how to read research and stuff.
Yeah.
But most of what he's doing is like he's kind of like spearheading some stuff like with the carnivore diet and transitioning to like animal based. Like he's kind of spearheading, saying like there's not a lot of research done on these diets, but there's a lot of anecdotal evidence, right?
Yeah, and I would say has gotten more to the point where he has this greater middle ground.
Yeah,
because he was like very polarizing, like carnivore is the only way.
Yeah.
So, but
he wrote that whole book. He wrote an entire book called The Carnivore Code, and then
switched his thinking like immediately.
Yeah, he was like, okay, actually, I'm starting to have some issues.
Yeah.
But then you got like, like Lane Norton, who is power lifter. He's like set world records in powerlifting, and
dude is a freak.
He's a freak, right?
Yeah.
But he like, if you
strong.
listen to him talk, he's all like everything that he believes in and talks about is backed by a double-blind placebo study. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just interesting to see different, people's different perspectives. And like, there's obviously so much value in high quality studies, right? Giving us evidence and showing us, giving us clues as to like what is the most beneficial for people and what works, right? But then we also have anecdotal experience where if you as a person change something about your diet and you have an extremely positive experience or it changes your life, even if there's nothing like really rigorous backing that as far as studies go, there's still something there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I actually just, it's funny you said that because I came across a video today where this guy so Paul Saladino is like very much in the camp that like seed oils are like the worst thing that you could put in your body. And there was another guy who he's more about like, hey, seed oils, here's some evidence where there's been proof that it maybe is beneficial for some. Like if you had really bad heart disease or something, maybe you were at risk of a heart attack and you needed to lower your cholesterol or whatever, he kind of is on the other side of the playing field.
Yes.
So they like meet. Like I think Paul Saladino has like a restaurant now or something like that. Like,
oh really?
Called oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Beef Fat. What's the
Tallow?
Tallow. Thank you. I think it's called Tallow.
Oh, really? Restaurant. I didn't know that. I didn't know he had a restaurant.
And maybe he just like backs it or whatever. But so they meet like in person was what this video was, and the one guy like poses just questions. Like he's not trying to create debate. He's not trying to like go after Paul Saladino, but he's just kind of like, if you had to list the first 3 things that were like the biggest like things that you could change to get better health, like what would you do? What would you prioritize? Most like foundational things. And so he starts like explaining one of them being seed oils.
Yeah.
And so then the guy is like, he's just like playing devil's advocate. So like, what about in these cases? What about, and there's another dude that like comes into view that like is also a big advocate for like seed oils, animal-based diets. He's kind of like,
he's an advocate for no seed oils.
yes.
Okay.
And he's like one of the dudes that will be like in the grocery store being like, this sucks, don't buy this.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so he comes in and basically like points out who this dude is to Paul Saladino, because this guy also has like a pretty large following. And immediately like Paul's like his aura just shifts and he's just like goes into debate mode. And he just actually, like, I was really surprised because he just starts pulling off like research thing after research thing after study after this. He's like, we can see all the evidence, like we're like just stacking it up. And the dude's just like, shit, like I wasn't ready for this.
It's like I wasn't prepared for this.
Yeah.
Damn.
It was crazy. But
yeah, I mean, I do respect Paul Saladino in that he is, again, he's a triple board certified medical doctor.
Sure.
And if you listen to his podcast, he does reference a lot of studies. Again, he's spearheading a lot of ideas and he's referencing studies as like, you know, like clues to what might be the most beneficial.
Yeah.
But he actively raises money through his animal-based foundation to do research on some of the things that that's
super cool
proposing. Yeah, which is cool. Where I was going originally with this was like, there's so much clickbait in the space.
Yeah.
Like I feel like every day or every week I'm seeing videos on YouTube where it's like, you know, a big one is Mike Israetel. So Dr. Mike Israetel, Renaissance periodization. He's a exercise scientist. He's a PhD in exercise science. So he's Dr. Mike.
Yep.
But most of his YouTube videos are like exercise scientist debunks this person's training modalities or this person's health advice.
Yep.
And you know, that's an example, but I see that all over the place where people are just trying to
be seen almost.
Yeah, they're leveraging other people's popularity to gain their own popularity, but then also like it's the conflict is like engaging. So people, you know, people want to like, people find themselves clicking on these videos where people are just like shitting on each other's ideas instead of like coming together and saying like, oh, well, these things that he's saying make sense to me, or this is what I resonate, and this is where I think that maybe he's a little bit off, or I would challenge him on this.
Sure.
Instead of like coming together and like figuring out what the truth is, the idea is like, oh, this health advice is bullshit, don't listen to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about taking, like you said, the bits and pieces of things that are going to benefit the individual. And actually, like, speaking of Lane Norton, I was just listening to a podcast of his where he was diving into like nutrition and macros and metabolism. And even for him, is like he has a lot of hills that he tends to, in a social way, kind of die on. But I mean, he was explaining, he's like, I have clients who do carnivore. I have clients who do carb cycling. I have clients who do this because that's what works for them. He's like, these are the things that I prioritize and that I want to preach in a social way, but also like people are different. And I think that's like a good point, is like what works for this person is not, we talk about that all the time. It's not the thing that's going to work for this person. Or there may be some aspects of that, so it's like, it's such a, I've like not been a huge fan of, there's this massive trend of like the, what do you want to call them? Like the response videos.
Yes.
Where, you know what I mean? It's like it's the person staring at the screen of someone doing something that they just don't approve of. And then you're waiting for the reaction videos.
Yeah.
You're waiting for like the reaction of the person. And then their whole entire, feed page is built on reactions to other things.
Yes.
I struggle with like, you're not being original in your thought process. Like you have ideas, obviously, because you're reacting to these things you don't like. So just make content that speaks to the people that are in your camp.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is kind of where I
see that
with a lot of that stuff.
And it's, I mean, I get the strategy of it. Like you're trying to leverage a popular video and react to it because that's going to get you views, obviously. But it feels a little bit disingenuous if you're just using that to create traction
to
instead
like prop
of
you up.
Yeah, instead of just like sharing what you believe. And again, coming together to figure out what the truth is, so that we can like as a collective grow and make everyone healthier and more fit and start, aligning ourselves toward what works.
Yes.
Versus like just like shitting on each other and creating more separation.
Yeah. You can say, hey, you believe that seed oils are like terrible for you. I believe there's a world where you could fit these into your diet and you could be a perfectly healthy individual. It's an agree to disagree. And, we both have the same goal, right?
Yeah.
Is kind of the idea, like just using that as the example, like,
absolutely.
It's like, hey, you believe what you believe. I believe what I believe. At the end of the day, we want to help people improve.
Yeah.
And I have one strategy to do that, and you have another strategy to do that.
And even the word believe is interesting. Like, if you have that as a belief that seed oils aren't causing people issues, and I have the belief that seed oils are causing people issues, well, we're both just attached to beliefs.
Yeah.
That we're running all of our current like information through. It's like a filter that we're seeing the world through this belief.
Sure.
Whereas if we can kind of like set the beliefs down and engage in dialogue and, look at studies and bring up different points and, even potentially if you're working with clients, see if they get better results with or without seed oils, But in general, instead of like believing or having a belief system, like just setting down the beliefs, engaging in dialogue and trying to figure out what the truth is so we can move forward with knowing like, oh, okay, we know that, seed oils have, this amount of an effect on people, but it's not the end all be all, right? Which is probably what it always comes down to. And ultimately the answer for everything is it depends. It depends on the individual. It depends on the situation. It depends on the goals, right?
Yep.
But sometimes nuance isn't sexy or clickbaity.
Yeah.
Right?
People want the instant like wow factor. Or,
yes.
And some of that too is the belief is formed in the if I do this is how I get to from point A to point B almost, right? Like if I do this animal-based diet, it's going to help me lean out, trim up, lose the 30 pounds that I want to lose. So this has to be the way. And like you said, it depends. And what we always talk about is you have to be the owner of that, experiment for yourself.
Yes.
Do the thing, stick it out long enough to see, does this elicit change or does it not? And then figure out how to adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are looking for, it's engaging and it's tempting to believe that if I just cut out seed oils, then I'll be healthy. If I just eat raw liver twice a week, then I'll be healthy.
Yeah.
But there's never, especially when it comes to like your health and fitness, there's never an actual destination. It's all just journey.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can start implementing things and see how we respond to them. But having the idea that, oh, like this is the one thing I've been missing.
Yeah.
Oh, if I start doing AG1 every day, then I'm going to to be healthy.
Yeah.
We get into these traps of thinking like, oh, that's the thing that I'm missing. And if I do that, then everything will be okay. And it's really like, no, you have to on a daily basis take responsibility for your habits, for what you're putting in your mouth, if you're moving, if you're doing things that make you happy, if you're getting enough rest, like it's a daily commitment.
Yeah.
And one supplement or one, health hack or one, just implementing one thing isn't going to get you
totally
all the way there.
Yeah, it's going to be the last 5% on you've already, because it's like you have these big rocks that actually move the needle. Like those are the things that if you're not prioritizing those things, I don't give a crap if you're taking AG1 every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're not sleeping well, if your stress is through the roof, if you're not consistently exercising with a legitimate like program, eating well, who cares what supplement you're taking? Who cares what type of exercise you need to be striving for? Who cares what, types of oils you're consuming? Like what you could go down the list, but it's like focus on the big rocks first.
Yeah.
Do the things that are going to move the needle the most. And then, if you want to trial the things that are going to help you feel better in your day to day, do it, but give it an honest effort. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Give it an honest effort and make sure that you do have the foundations in place before you start doing all sorts of crazy experiments. you know?
Yeah, I was doing for a while, like I had this ambassador deal with a supplement company, and you know, it's cool for like business promotion and things like that, and having something that you can offer to clients that would help them get to their goals. But I just kind of had to die on that hill for myself that like supplements is one of those things. Like, you know, someone's like, okay, I want to make this big push to be healthy. Like, what supplement should I buy? It's like, well, what does your nutrition look like? What is your, you know, again, going down the list, what does your sleep look like? What does your stress look like? What's your exercise routine? Because like, I don't care if you're taking creatine, your protein powder, your green supplements, your pre-workout, like, because, you know, the protein powder, sure, may help. Creatine, I think those are big rock supplements, but that you could go down the list of all these like fat burners and whatever else products that are being sold, and like, who cares?
Yes.
Because it's like, don't do any of this stuff until you've got this stuff figured out. It's kind of the perspective I got to for myself, is like, I don't know that I want to like promote, and I don't have a problem with the supplement company and I still use it, but I don't want to like sell people on that idea that this is going to save them if all of these things aren't like in place. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, for me, my perspective has become over time, especially working with clients, is before we add anything, and we've talked about this a little bit, but I always ask people, what can we take away?
Yeah.
We're doing, like, we're all so busy. We're all doing so much. We're all overstimulated, right? Adding more things to do or to take or to add into your routine can be overwhelming. And like you just said, a lot of times those supplements aren't even going to be beneficial if you don't have other things in place. So like, okay, you're drinking a large black coffee every day at 2 p.m. I don't care what supplement you're taking. That's not gonna correct the damage that you're doing by having a large dose of caffeine in the afternoon, which is destroying your sleep. It's like, okay, can we take out the stimulants that you're doing in the afternoon? Yeah. Can we take out the sweet desserts that you're doing at night before bed that are ruining your sleep? You know, can we take out the junk food? Can we take, there's things that we can pull out of the routine that are going to have huge effects. Yeah, you could do the math on like someone who, like soda, for an example. Like if I consumed 2 sodas a day, that was like my thing that I had to have. Like, what does that equate to? Like 300-400 calories a day? Yeah, like 80 grams of sugar. So if you stop drinking that soda and we just took out, like you said, that one thing every day, like that's like equivalent to 1 pound of body fat every single week that you could lose because you took that thing away. How many times have you worked with someone who went from drinking like 1 or 2 drinks a day to not drinking at all, and they lose like 10 to 15 pounds in a month or 2? Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you don't need to go buy AG1 and I mean, I don't mean to shit on. Yeah. I mean, I keep bringing up AG1. I don't mean to shit on AG1. They're just a popular supplement. Yeah. But you don't need to go spend your money on something like that when you're having 2 alcoholic beverages every single day. We can take that out. You're saving money on alcohol. You're saving money on supplements, and you just lost 15 pounds in 2 months without adding anything. Yes. And and it's like, what if that, to further the point, like you stop paying for that thing, which that's an expensive thing, and now you have money to pay for a coach or pay for a program that's going to get you to where you want to be. Exactly. Come on now. People would drop like $500 a month on alcohol. Yeah. Bottles of wine. And they're like, oh, that gym membership's a little steep. I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole nother. I mean, that's another podcast. Dude, that's another conversation. I could go to town on that of what we're prioritizing financially and things like that. But all right, let's you know, we were talking about getting some of these foundational things in place. We're talking about, you know, potentially pulling things out versus adding a bunch of stuff into our routines in order to get healthier and improve our fitness and our overall, you know, well-being. So let's talk about one of those big boulders, one of those big foundational pieces that we've kind of touched on a little bit in previous episodes, but we haven't dove into deeply in a full episode. And that thing is stress. Yes. And stress in general. Do you want to talk a little bit about, like, you know, stress, how stress is like an overarching term, right? That's like 5 letters, stress, that encompasses so much in our lives. Yeah. You know, stress is the body's response to the environmental stressors. It's like the stressors are the things that are coming at you from a day to day. The stress is
how your body's responding to it.
Mm.
But yeah, we're going to dive in and break it down. But we talk about like mental stress, chemical stress, emotional stress. There's a lot of different factors that play into how we feel what we feel. And I think we live in a day and age where we're so consumed by stressors that we don't know how to like downregulate out of them if we don't have like a quality approach.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, back in the day, I listened to a few podcasts like leading up to this. They always bring up like a tiger for whatever reason.
That is always the
Why is
the
that,
metaphor.
dude?
The tiger or the lion.
It's like those are only in specific areas of the world. But anyways, like
I was getting chased by a lion.
Yeah,
I was in Africa for some reason.
But it is that kind of like you have to attack, you have to play defense, you have to. Stress is your body is designed to respond in a way that is going to get you moving, going to allow your muscles to work, going to maybe force you to say something. Maybe it's something you don't want to say, but it's designing you to like get up from what you're doing and go.
Yes.
And so, you know, if you want to relate to back in the day, that was hunting something, or you were being hunted, or you were fighting in battle, or whatever, dude. Like,
yes.
But in today's day and age, that looks like everything that is being thrown our way. If it's finances, if it's your job, if it's your kids, like schedule, your phone, that's a massive one, right? It's in front of you constantly sending you signals over and over and over. So I just don't think we recognize like how many stressors that are coming our way. And if you don't have the tools to combat it, like you're going to be in a rough spot. Absolutely.
Yeah. The classic, that's funny. The classic metaphor of like the being chased by the tiger, you know? That's one form of stress, right? Like that fear response, like that adrenaline response, you know, but stress could also be eating too much or not eating enough, or not having enough, you know, access to food, or having only access to low quality food. Stress could be from training, right? When we step into the gym and we work out, that is a stressor that we're placing on our bodies in hopes of rebounding from that stressor and becoming more resilient, right? So stress can be a really positive thing, because we need stress. We need outside forces to stress us out so that we can adapt and continue to build resilience and move forward, so we can navigate our environments with skill, right? So again, stress can be a positive thing. Again, you just said it's like that. It's the signal that forces us to move, to get up and go. Without the discomfort of stress, then we would just let ourselves get eaten by the lion. Yep. And that wouldn't be very good for the it's only good for the lion. it wouldn't be good for, yeah, true, it's good for the lion. It wouldn't be good for the propagation of the human race, right? We wouldn't get very far. But yeah, so there's so many things that encompass the idea of stress. Again, you touched on emotional stress. You know, if you're having, you know, an argument with your spouse, or you're not getting along with people at work, or you're grieving, you know, someone in your family passes away. That's emotional stress, or a relationship ends. Those are all emotional stressors, right? Yep. Physical stress, again, could be from working out, could be from working out too much, not working out enough. Could be physical stress, could be cold or hot, right? These are forms of stress. Chemical stress is our exposure to chemicals in the environment. So food additives, you know, low quality water, things in our tap water that we shouldn't be drinking, air quality, right? If you live in a city, the air quality is not great. You're breathing in. You know, one thing that I learned recently was, you know, we all replace our tires on our cars every couple of years. There's no rubber on the streets. Like, where's the rubber going? It's getting thrown up into the air. And microscopic, you know, particles. So we're breathing in rubber and plastic and exhaust. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Love that. That's a huge form
pharmaceuticals.
Exactly. Pharmaceuticals. If you're on medications, right? That's a form of chemical stress. And then what was the last one we got? Emotional, physical, chemical, and then environmental. Environmental would be like light pollution, again, air quality, right? even our physical environment not being conducive to moving or being healthy, right?
Yep.
So again, these are all different buckets of stress that we face on a daily basis. And I think what most people don't consider or recognize with this is that your body, your system doesn't really differentiate between different types of stress. So you think that, even though you are dealing with a lot of emotional stress and you're grieving, you can step in the gym and train just as hard as you've been training.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a healthy outlet, right? To go let out some energy.
Sure.
But if you're really stressed out because you're grieving or because you can't, pay your bills, then crushing yourself in the gym is not very strategic, because you're not going to recover from that workout well.
Yeah.
Because your body's already under so much stress.
Yes.
Right. So just understanding that your body can't really differentiate between the different forms of stress that you're experiencing is a really important factor to get yourself to the place where you can kind of balance these forces in your life.
Yeah, I like to explain it like you have a bucket that exists that represents maybe your day's capacity or your body's capacity. And you take all of those different stressors, and every single day you are filling that bucket. You know what I mean? Whether it's like stress at work, argument with your wife, the dog ran away, I don't know, whatever you want to name it. Like you're looking at your phone, an injury that you have that kind of gets lumped into the physical, and your bucket fills. And so that example, like you shared, is like you go to the gym, if your bucket's already, 3/4 of the way full, and you train super hard and now you're spilling out, like you're losing that ability to recover well. You're not maximizing like the gains from that training session. And yeah, it's actually going to be more detrimental than actually positive for you. So This is a world that exists where you could still train. Like you said, it's definitely a positive outlet, if that's something that you enjoy and you need to express that stress out.
Yeah.
But there's a way that you could do it that's effective, safe, conducive to creating a stress-free environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, the whole intention of us talking about this topic is how it relates to health and fitness, right? Yeah. So say you are someone who is training in the gym and you have a goal of getting stronger and putting on some lean muscle mass and becoming more fit and becoming more healthy or getting leaner, right? You need to understand how these stressors are affecting your ability to do that.
Yeah.
So one of the most important things that you can do is objectively quantify how stressed out your body is. So one thing that you can do is go through each of these 4 categories of stress, right? Mental, emotional, physical, chemical, and environmental, and write down the things that are stressing you out. Write down, what thing, and you have to sit down and you have to kind of like get quiet with yourself and meditate on this and be honest and reflective, but figure out, okay, for my physical stress, like, do I have any injuries? Do I have muscle imbalances where my posture is not very good? Am I training too hard, or am I not training enough? Right. And then you look at your mental, emotional stress. How are my relationships? How happy am I with my job? How well am I, sleeping at night? You look at your chemical stress. Okay. And these are, we're getting to a little bit, maybe some more nuanced topics, but you're looking at your chemical stress. Okay. Like, am I using just like commercial cleaning products in my house? Am I wearing synthetic clothing a lot? Am I, eating low quality food or drinking low quality water? These are all things that contribute to the chemical stress load of your body.
Yep.
Right. And then same thing with environmental. Am I looking at my phone until midnight? Am I getting up and looking at my phone first thing in the morning? Am I getting any sunlight throughout the day to set my circadian rhythm? So you can go through each of these buckets of stress, or these different forms of stress, and kind of identify, where you are taking on too much stress and how you could lower that, right? So you start to recognize these things, And you can do something simple like give yourself a score like a 1 out of 10. And, you know, it doesn't have to be like, we don't have to get crazy scientific with this. We're just kind of starting out and trying to kind of objectify and figure out and be reflective of like, okay, where am I at right now? Because a lot of times we don't take a second to be reflective about where we're at, what's going on in our lives, how we're feeling. We don't, and we're not intentional with our training or our food based on these things.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing that I do is I look at each of these different forms of stress, and then I'll give myself like a score, 1 to 10. Currently, where am I at with stress? Okay. Like I'm mentally, emotionally, I'm like at a 10 right now. I'm tapped out.
Yep.
And you just total those up, and then you use that as a gauge, right? It would be out of 40 of like, okay, this is my level of stress. If it's like at a 30 out of 40, then you know you're pretty wrecked.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to engage in a more therapeutic dose of exercise in order to bring yourself back to balance. And that's not to say that you can't make some progress in the gym and you can't get leaner by actually moving and exercising in accordance with kind of where you're at in life right now. You're actually going to be doing yourself a lot. You're going to be doing yourself a service.
Yep.
So that you can actually start to bring yourself back to balance.
Yes.
Because if you're out of balance and you're unhealthy and you're overstressed, then you're not going to be seeing progress in the gym anyways. And going and crushing a hard workout because you think that, oh, I need to do this in order to get to the body that I want or to get to the fitness level that I want is actually just setting yourself back.
Yeah.
And if you do that for years, then you gain fat around your midsection, you don't put on any muscle, you end up injured, and you just burn yourself out.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate that you brought that up because I think that's a really great practice to reflect and we talk about like kind of being inside of your body. What are you experiencing on a day to day? And that's a really practical application of that, of checking in with yourself. And yeah, to that point is like the people that there's like a camp of people that are like almost cortisol junkies in that sense where it is like, I have to crush myself. I have to sweat more. I have to jack my heart rate up. I have to rest less between sets to feel like I'm doing something that is moving me in a positive direction. When in fact, in most cases, it's not conducive to creating a stress-free environment. The thing about stress is it's telling your body these, like, we are going to do these things, but in doing these things, we're going to shut off the ability to do these things. It's like tunnel vision. So if you're constantly stressed out and over here, my goal is I want to lose body fat. I want to put on muscle. I want to look better. I want to feel better. But your tunnel vision is telling you, do this, get by, get through your day, survive. Yeah. You're not going to be doing those things because it's like spacing, you know, it's compartmentalizing is the term I was thinking of like, do this, don't do this. And more often than not, like losing fat, building muscle, like that takes a stress-free environment to do. That takes a lot of work for your body to compute. Yes. And there has to be a pretty, like I said, stress-free environment for those things to take place.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because you physically, literally, physiologically, scientifically cannot be crushing a workout or be in a fight or flight state because you drank, you know, a large black coffee or you're trying to like meet a deadline at work. If you're in that state where you're stressed out and you're feeling that cortisol rise, you cannot be building muscle or burning fat. It just doesn't happen.
Yep.
So it's such a like dichotomy where like we want to go into the gym and crush it because we want to build muscle and lose fat, but you while you're in the gym crushing your workout, you cannot be building muscle or burning fat.
Yeah.
You can only be building muscle and burning fat when you are in a low stress environment. So the key is balance. We ultimately have to balance these two forces, right? And I've heard it explained as like at the most foundational level, it is the yin and the yang, or the masculine or the feminine and the masculine, right? It's these forces of like energy expenditure and energy building. When we work out, we're expending energy. When we're stressed out, we're expending energy. When we're, meeting a deadline at work, or we're in an argument with our spouse, we're expending energy. When we're nose breathing and calm and relaxed and in a deep sleep, or just doing a little bit of meditation, or even just finding ways to downregulate throughout your day by just breathing into your belly and centering yourself a little bit, then you're bringing energy and resources in, which is going to allow you to build muscle and use fat for energy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. I mean, it's the old adage, and we've used this in reference for a lot of things, but it's like you can't pour from an empty cup. So
absolutely, stress
is going to deplete your cup. And at some point, you're going to ask your body to pour from it. If there's nothing in there, sorry. And it's not like we all experience this. Like, listen, I'm a business owner. I'm a dad to 2 kids. I have a spouse. Like, I was joking about the dog. Like, I have bills to pay. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of stresses on my life. I experience that on a daily basis, but it's what practices are you tangibly implementing in the day-to-day to help you combat that? Because like we said, your ability to manage stress is about matching your internal environment with your external environment. Like, those stressors are that external environment. They are going to be thrusted upon you. It's a terrible way to say that. And at some point, yeah, that's so good. At some point, we have to combat it with tools. Like, you cannot just wait to get ran over, because you're just going to be stuck. You're going to be perpetually stuck spinning your wheels in that state of like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we could, I feel like we've touched enough about, on the different forms of stress and how to again, like, objectively kind of quantify your stress, so that you can like see that as a score and understand where you're at and work on reducing it. And then also take that and know that, okay, I cannot crush myself in the gym 5 days a week if my stress levels are too high.
Yeah.
I need to implement a more therapeutic dose of exercise. And and again, like you just said, we both have stressors in our lives. Everyone does.
Yep.
Everyone experiences these things, right? We go through waves of life where things just hit us, and next thing you know, you're like in a deep grief, or you're extremely stressed out because you're not sure if you're going to be able to pay your bills, or so we all experience these things. And I know that we're speaking from experience when it comes to how these things relate to our ability to train effectively and get more fit and get stronger. And personally, I grew up racing motocross. So I started racing dirt bikes from the time I was 3 years old. And so at a very formative age, I was racing dirt bikes from like 3 to like 10 years old. And it was so exciting and thrilling getting on a dirt bike and going 50, 60 miles an hour, and I'm racing against other kids. And, what I've recognized as I've gotten older is like, there's like almost like a physiological addiction that has existed within me for that intensity. And so, I stopped racing motocross and I started, skateboarding and snowboarding and, finding other extreme sports. And then as I continued to get older, it was like jumping off, like cliff jumping and doing flips off of cliffs and, rock climbing or whatever it is that like I could do to like kind of
like create that stimulus
to create that intensity. And as I got into training, in my late teens and early 20s, it was like, if I'm not destroying myself in the gym, then like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
If I'm not doing like 10 sets of 10 on squats, then like, why am I even going to the gym? You know? And so that kind of addiction to intensity manifested itself in me ultimately destroying myself in the gym. Like training for powerlifting competitions and lifting heavy like 6 days a week and not resting enough and thinking that I could just eat 5,000 calories a day of like whatever food and that would just help me get bigger and grow muscle. Ultimately, all these things made me really, really sick in my early 20s and destroyed me because I again, and it was like part of it was the addiction to intensity and stressing myself out way too much. But I had ultimate goals of like, oh, I want to squat this much weight. I want to get this muscular, you know, I want to do all these things. And I thought, okay, well, if I just train harder, if I just do more, then I'll get there faster. But no, it destroyed me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I spent years trying to recover from being really sick in my early 20s and getting back to the place of being healthy and regulated and finding balance and being able to train in a way that's sustainable so that I could avoid injury and build strength and muscle over time. So
yeah.
just to share a little bit of my own like personal journey with that, you know, I know we're both speaking from experience when it comes to like,
absolutely.
And people may hear this and not listen to it and think like, oh, well, I'm going to keep going to my 5 a.m. workout 5-6 days a week and crushing myself. And, you know, hopefully I'll start seeing results, but you know, if you're burnt out, you're not going to.
Yeah. And to that point, like, you know, if that's the time that works for you, that's the time that works for you. But
yeah,
it's what are you doing to combat the fact that you got up at 4 o'clock to go to your workout?
Yeah.
And how are you being strategic in your workout to make it effective and right size it for what you're feeling for the day? And, you know, down the list. And, you know, I'm the same exact way. Like I, for a long time, tried HIIT training, group classes, was doing CrossFit for a period. And it was like, my body wasn't responding. You know, I wasn't getting bigger like I wanted to, putting on muscle. I wasn't leaning out. It was like that skinny fat, like stuck and constantly hurt. And it was like, at some point, like you get that wake up call of like, what do I need to do to change this? For me, like I rarely train more than 4 days a week with actual strength training. And for me, I found that helps me right size what I'm doing. More often than not, those workouts are full body. And a reason for that is I had a pretty significant back injury, and I was noticing like when I was doing heavy lower days and, you know, you're compounding like a hinge pattern or a deadlift with a squat pattern movement, and they're both heavy and they're both big compound movements and they're asking a lot of your spine. Like I was in a rough place. So I found that if I just did less volume per day, but still hit the volume over the course of the week, like I felt the best. So that's like an example of, like you said, we are walking examples of how we've kind of taken some of these thoughts and trialed them for ourselves to figure out what best serves us. So yeah,
absolutely. And we've both worked with hundreds of clients over years. So, you know, we've got some exposure to what things tend to create results in the gym.
Absolutely.
Too. So let's talk about a little bit, you know, let's talk about some strategies or some practical ways in which we can lower our stress. And, you know, maybe we could go through each of the buckets, or we could just start touching on some of the habits that we implement.
One of the remedies, like first and foremost, that works for me specifically, and I wouldn't force this upon anyone else, but I think having like a spiritual base is significant.
That's huge. How do you bring that up?
And for me, you know, that's my belief in God, and that helps me have a place to rest. You know, that gives me a belief in something that's higher than me, something that's more in control than I am. Because for me, like my stress more often than not is about what I don't have control over. You know, like there's so many things that happen in life that you're gonna experience it. It's gonna happen to you, like whatever that is. And it is so freeing to say like, hey, for me, again, speaking from my experience, like, God, you're in control. I trust you, and, you know, help me navigate what we're experiencing. So, you know, and you talk about meditation, like prayer life and devotionals and being able to sit with scripture and things like, whether you believe it or you don't believe it, that's, you know, for you to decide. But it's, regardless, the words are empowering. So it's something that fills me up and, again, gives me belief, gives me motivation, fills me with peace. And so that's, for me, that's a major way that I can experience de-stressing.
I love that. Yeah, that's very cool. And you know, whether whatever your religion is or whatever your beliefs are, ultimately, it's a great mystery. You know, that there's
it's unknown.
There's so much that's a mystery.
It's unknown, and
none of us can know, and none of us will know until we die, right? And maybe then we'll know, or we won't know.
But something to note about that too is, again, whatever your belief system is, a lot of it is rooted in meditative practices and again, trusting in a higher being.
Yes.
So for speaking upon stress, how do we deregulate? How do we create a more stress-free environment? You know, meditation, prayer, all of those things can be utilized as tools to
absolutely
achieve a goal.
Yeah. And just like surrendering to the mystery, right? Like there is, you know, there ultimately we're not victims, but we're not in control. There are so many things about our lives, about reality, about the nature of Earth, right? And all the human beings that are on it that are out of our control. All we can really control is how we respond.
Yeah.
So surrendering to the mystery and just having faith that the things that I cannot control are not worth me stressing over or, you know, losing my mind over or being up at night thinking about like ultimately, and it's, you know, kind of in a similar idea of like trusting God, right? Having faith in God, in God's plan that whatever's happening is happening on a grand scale, right? If we get, you know, if the Earth gets hit with an asteroid like next week, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Right? There's, you know, I don't know, you know, like the Yellowstone volcano is like, it erupts every, I don't know, what, 200,000 years or something, and like it's due to erupt. You know, like, you know, it could happen next year. Like we didn't know that would like wipe out the entire planet, you know?
Or more realistic current political environment.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like how many people are spending their time like sucked into their algorithm of what's being fed to them from Trump this, Democrat Party this,
World War III
this, and it's just like you are spending so much energy wasting it away on things like you said we don't have control over. So what could you be doing to spend your time appropriately elsewhere?
Where can you center your attention and your focus on that you have control over that's going to contribute to a positive outcome for you, which then becomes a positive outcome for your family, which then becomes a positive outcome for your community, which ripples outward. And so it has to go from I to we to all, and we have to take responsibility for ourselves, right? And again, ultimately we don't have to do anything, but if you want to lower your stress, like just surrendering to the mystery, having faith, and just pumping the brakes a little bit on, especially on, like you were just saying, being on social media, watching the news, engaging in all these things that we don't have control over. We spend so much time and energy engaging in things that we cannot control, and that is a huge form of stress and a huge drain on our energy. So I love that you bring that up as number one.
And another vein of kind of that spirituality is like the idea of gratitude. In that there's scripture that talks about where gratitude exists, anxiety, stress, worry, fear, those things don't have a place if you're filling it with something that you are grateful for.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's a helpful practice. Like you were noting, you know, having that check-in with yourself, having that meditation for yourself where you're taking notes. Maybe for you that is the practice that creates a stress-free environment for yourself of you sit down and you list out 5 things that you're grateful for in the day. If that's your family, if that's your job, if that's having a roof over your head, if that's having a community, like, and if you don't have those things, like go get them. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, gratitude, reflection, another great way to de-stress.
That's the power of shifting your attention and your focus, right? What you put your attention on, you give energy and power to. So just by paying attention and focusing on the things that are going right and the things that you have to be grateful for, that's a huge energy shift, right? It completely changes your whole perception of reality.
Absolutely.
Without reality itself changing, you've completely changed the way that you view it by focusing your attention on what's going right instead of what's going wrong. So that's another really powerful way to just manage your stress. And those seem kind of like woo-woo, like, again, spiritual, energetic, but on a practical level, that is going to down-regulate your nervous system, your cortisol levels, because not giving energy away to things you can't control and just focusing on what you have to be grateful for and what things are going right in your life, that completely shifts your perspective on like, oh, actually, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I dig this. But you know, if you're constantly watching the news and you're on social media worried about World War III and you have a roof over your head and you have good food and you have people that love you, but you're not paying attention. You're not appreciating it, paying attention to any of those things. And you could easily fall into the trap of feeling like reality sucks, my life sucks, the world sucks, we're all gonna die soon.
Doom and gloom.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well I mean, you can choose that reality if you want, but it's not very conducive to your overall well-being, your health, your fitness, you know? So, I love that you bring those up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, some more practical things, obviously exercise. That's
a therapeutic dose.
Therapeutic dose of
the
exercise.
Right dose of exercise
right
for
dose
you.
Of exercise. Movement, walking.
Yep.
We talk a lot about on our show, like walking is so beneficial for creating a low stress form of cardiovascular activity, encouraging more blood flow, which then encourages healing. And it's just another meditative practice. I mean, you could put a podcast on or you could go walk without your phone. Like I've tried that a couple times. It is freeing, let me tell you. You could do it with a friend or with a significant other or your family and create connection and conversation. So movement, exercise, big rocks. And something I do often, I did this last week. I don't always have access to a sauna, but a sauna is so beneficial.
Yeah, so relaxing.
So relaxing. And obviously you could go down the rabbit hole of all the metabolic health benefits that has. I have a cold plunge. A cold plunge is unique in the sense that it actually initiates the adrenaline response, but it's that sitting in the water and learning how to combat the adrenaline force, right? Because when you first get in, it's, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, we're in here, it's freezing cold, but it's how can you breathe your way, meditate your way through it so that you can actually like sit in the warfare that is that cold tub.
Yeah, it's expanding your nervous system's capacity to handle stress.
Yep, for sure.
So when you are in those stressful moments, you can learn to like nose breathe, calm yourself, and center yourself through it instead of getting wrapped up in the stress of the moment. Yeah, that's cool. That's a powerful one.
Yeah. And then nutrition, like you had mentioned, like that is one of our environmental and or chemical stressors. Is if you're just eating poor quality food all the time, like your gut's going to be in a rough shape, your metabolism is not going to be functioning well, your hormones will come into play as far as, you know, having poor communication of your endocrine system because your cells don't have quality nutrition to function off of. So yeah, prioritizing like quality food and as best as you can, whole foods, dense, you know, nutrients, high protein.
Things that are going to stabilize your blood sugar.
Yeah.
Because if we get on these blood sugar swings where we get highs and lows, then that's something that throws off our entire hormonal response as well, right? So if your blood sugar spikes and then your body releases a bunch of insulin to get it down and then your blood sugar drops aggressively, then your body has to release cortisol and adrenaline to get your blood sugar back up. Then you're on this hormonal roller coaster, which is very stressful to the body.
Absolutely.
So yeah, eating in a way that's going to keep your blood sugar balanced, focusing on protein, making sure that you're eating your carbohydrates after you've had your protein is a great way to balance your blood sugar. Avoiding stimulants, you know, like we talked about the black coffee in the afternoon. You know, if you're doing coffee in the morning, it could be after you've eaten something. That'll help kind of regulate your response to the stimulants, trying to avoid it in the afternoon. You know, nicotine is a big stimulant that's really popular right now. Like if you're out there hitting vapes, like get off that shit. You know, or if you're popping Zins or these pouches, you know, like just be mindful not to do that in the afternoon or too close to your sleep because that's going to throw off your sleep.
For sure.
And then, you know, another big one, similar to like what you touched on with meditation, is just like some sort of nose breathing practice or breathing practice that can actively lower stress, lower cortisol, and down-regulate your nervous system. Or, you know, down-regulate your sympathetic and up-regulate your parasympathetic, which is kind of like a rest and digest, calm nervous system. You know, so you were kind of showing me this before we started recording, actually, but maybe if you want to like
Yeah.
show us some of one of the breathing techniques that you were talking about, and talk about it a little bit. That was cool.
Yeah. So I was listening to a podcast, Andrew Huberman. Like,
Who's that?
massive
No, I'm just
podcaster, but also he's a scientist out of Stanford that does a lot of research in neuroscience and things like that. But yeah, he talks about the physiological sigh. And you had mentioned, so yeah, you have these two forms of your nervous system, your parasympathetic and your sympathetic, that you're going to have that adrenal response. Your parasympathetic nervous system that rests and digests, you can activate that to combat the forces of stress. And you can do that in an immediate way. So what he was talking about is, if you have a longer exhale with your breath than you have inhale, you are going to expand space in your diaphragm to let actually your heart like drop into space within your chest cavity to be able to have more space to fill with blood. And then that exhale is going to send a signal to the ventricles to pump slower. So if you can pump less blood, you're going to de-stress.
Lower your heart rate.
Yeah, lower your heart rate. So, and so, yeah, it was the idea of like 2 inhales, like short inhales. So like through your nose, like, and then that big long exhale. He was explaining it to do it out of your mouth. So like a long exhale, right? And you can do that in sequence. You could do that a few times. I even tried it last night. I was like kind of having trouble like down regulating before bed. And so I was just doing that as like a practice, and it's awesome. And you kind of feel that immediate, like, okay, like I'm settling in, I'm refocusing my mind. Something else he had mentioned too is like your eyes can play a huge role in your nervous system's response. And like for people, like he was talking about like Navy SEALs, like you're doing intensive training, right? Maybe it's something that's like just really kicking your butt. Like opening up your eyes wider can actually help your mind shift off of the like pain that you're experiencing to like get through that moment.
Interesting.
So yeah, I was kind of like, so obviously
I do that when I'm lifting.
Yeah, right. Like when you're hitting that big lift. I tried it today, and you're just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, because the normal response is like bear down, brace down, close the eyes. But yeah, it's super interesting how your body already has these built-in systems to combat stress. Yeah. So it's like being able to find tools to like tap into. Yeah. Whether it's, you got to speak to a large audience or you have a hard conversation or whatever it may be. It's like it's an easy one.
Yeah, those parts of our nervous system are referred to as the autonomic nervous system because they're quote unquote automatic, right? So like, you're not thinking about beating your heart. You're not thinking about, pushing blood through your veins right now. There's all these processes that your body is taking care of without you realizing it, right? Digesting food, mobilizing energy stores. But it's really cool that we have this like key to kind of access this part of our nervous system that we don't technically have control over, but we kind of do because through the breath, we can influence it. So like you were just saying, a shorter inhale with a longer exhale is going to lower the heart rate and stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, whereas a longer inhale and a shorter exhale is going to stimulate the sympathetic nervous system and increase your heart rate. Yep. So if you're like trying to get amped up for something, or like you're about to do a big lift, like you can do some like big inhales with shorter exhales and get yourself like fired up. Or if you're, at the end of the day, you're trying to wind down, you can do some, I really like 4-6-8 breathing. You do a 4-second inhale, 6-second hold, and then a nice long 8-second exhale. And you just, again, lengthen that exhale to relax the body. Yeah. So cool. Very practical ways to lower your stress. And there's other things we could get into about, managing relationships and, what kind of like cleaning products you're using in your house and, to lower your chemical stress and stuff. But I think that we've touched on some really practical ways that you can lower your stress. Any other things you want to touch on? Any take homes?
One of the big things is like, we talked a lot about the lack of control, but I think we have the capacity to be in control of a lot of things, to anticipate things that are coming our way, to create systems around that, schedules around that, so that we're not caught off guard. Because I think, well, I was referencing it before, but I think a lot of stress comes from life just happening to you versus you actually being prepared and ready for it. So the more that you can think ahead about what your day holds, the more that you can create the schedule that you desire, the preparedness that you desire, I think the less moments throughout your day you're going to be totally wiped out by what comes. You know, there's going to be the handful of things that obviously are going to happen and you don't have control over. But man, if you can prepare your food for the day, if you can plan when you're going to go do your training, if you can have a schedule built in of when you're taking your kids to school, or, you know, if you're prepared ahead for that meeting that you have at work, like these are all ways that we can combat the stressors of life. So learning to take ownership, have the keys to the car, and navigate your journey in a way that, you know.
Yeah, be intentional and take responsibility for what you want to accomplish. Love it.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool.
All right.
Go be stress-free.
Go freaking bliss out.
Yeah.
All right, nice.